Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Gauranga, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Ashtotar Satisha A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Ananta Kota Vaishnavinda Ki Namacharya Shladhyasa Thakur Ki Prem Se Gaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Govardhana Ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Sham Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Shri Mayapur Dham Ki, Ganga Maya Ki, Yamuna Maya Ki, Tulasi Deva Ki, Bhakti Deva Ki, Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki, Lord Chaitanya's Harinama Sankirtan Ki, Brihat Madanga Ki, Srila Prabhupada Ki, Sri Sri Gaurnitai Ki, Sri Sri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Ki, Sri Sri Radha Gopinath Ki, Agora Premanandi, Grantaraj Sriman Bhagavatam Ki. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Grand. All glories to Sri Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Vicharini Nivasesha Sanivadi Pastichadeshita. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We are reading today from the third canto, chapter 24, text, I believe, number 40. Is that on the board? The chapter is entitled Renunciation of Kardama Muni. Please repeat. Matra Ajatmiking Vidyam Shamanim Sarvakarmanam Vitarishe Yaya Cha Aso Bhayam Cha Atitarishyati Matra Adhyatmikam Vidyam Matra Adhyatmiking Vidyam Shamaning Sarvakarmanam Patirisheya Chaso Bhayang chati tarish yati. Matra adhyatmiking vidyang. Shamaning sarvakarmanam. Vitarishye yayachaso. Bhayang chati tarishyati. Matra adhyatmiking vidyang. Shamaning sarvakarmanam. Vitarishye yayachaso. Bhayang chati tarishyati. Matra adhyatmiking vidyang. Shamaning sarvakarmanam. Vitarishye yayachaso. Bhayang chati tarishyati. Matre, to my mother, Adhyatmikim, which opens the door of spiritual life. Vidyam, knowledge. Shamanim, ending. Sarvakarmanam, all fruitive activities. Vitarishye, I shall give. Yaya, by which. Cha, also. Aso, she. Bhayam, fear. Cha, also. Atitarishati, will overcome. Translation, purport by His Divine Grace, Sri A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And here the Lord is addressing Kardama Muni. He's continuing. I shall also describe this supreme knowledge, which is the door to spiritual life, to my mother, so that she also can attain perfection and self-realization, ending all reactions to fruitive activities. Thus she also will be freed from all material fear. I think it's written on the board, is that correct? You can read it there. Purport. Gardama Muni was anxious about his good wife, Devahuti, while leaving home, and so the worthy son promised that not only would Gardama Muni be freed from the material entanglement, but Devahuti would also be freed by receiving instruction from her son. A very good example is set here. The husband goes away, taking the sannyas order for self-realization, but his representative, the son, who is equally educated, remains at home to deliver the mother. The sannyasi is not supposed to take his wife with him. At the vanaprastha stage of retired life, or the stage midway between householder life and renounced life, one may keep his wife as an assistant without sex relations. But in the sannyas order of life, one cannot keep his wife with him. Otherwise a person like Gardama Muni could have kept his wife with him, and there would have been no hindrance to his prosecution of self-realization. Gardama Muni followed the Vedic injunction that no one in sannyas life can have any kind of relationship with women. But what is the position of a woman who is left by her husband? She is entrusted to the son, and the son promises that he would deliver his mother from entanglement. A woman is not supposed to take sannyas. The so-called spiritual societies concocted in modern times give sannyas even to women, although there is no sanction in the Vedic literature for a woman's accepting sannyas. Otherwise, if it were sanctioned, Gardama Muni could have taken his wife and given her sannyas. The woman must remain at home. She has only 3 stages of life: dependency on the father in childhood, dependency on the husband in youth, and in old age, dependency on the grown-up son, such as Kapila. In old age, the progress of a woman depends on the grown-up son. The ideal son, Kapila Muni, is assuring his father of the deliverance of his mother, so that his father may go peacefully without any anxiety for his good wife. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Jnanatimrandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Shrapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Hare Krishna. So, any questions? I'm sure from the ladies' side there's a few questions, although you may have heard this subject from various sources in different ways. But we can see quite a difference in, you could say, the paradigm of our present society to that of previous society, which was, we can clearly see here, was based on a very spiritual principle. It wasn't based upon, was there a chauvinism or some kind of, controlling, force or exploitative or whatever. It was based purely upon a spiritual objective in life. Whatever body one's in, there is a suitable, whether we're in male or female bodies, there is a suitable engagement for conditioned souls. Accordingly, Varnashram is not directly mentioned here, but it's mentioned in terms of the orders of Vanaprastha, Grihastha, and Sannyas. all these various orders of life are meant to facilitate our spiritual advancement. They're not just to keep people under the thumb or to belittle someone's position or whatever, exploit them, etc. The same principles there between male and female, because Vedic society is of course based upon spiritual principles ultimately, and based upon the fact that human life is very valuable. It is not meant kamasyanendriya bhaktiya labo jiveta yavata jivasya tattva jignasa nartayascha karma bihi. It's not meant for sense enjoyment. Of course sense enjoyment is there in different ways, but that's not the goal. The goal of human life is jivasya tattva jignasa, this inquiry into the nature of the absolute truth, which we're seeing here. Gardama Muni wants to leave home. Now is the time, but his worthy son is none other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead, so, which is of course not usually the case. But not only is Gardama Muni becoming, let's say, enlightened and delivered by taking the sannyas order in the correct way, but his mother, or his wife in his case, Kapila's mother, will also be delivered. And more significantly in many ways in this third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the teachings of Kapila Dev to his mother are one of the most significant sections of the Srimad Bhagavatam. From more or less from A to Z, Lord Kapila Dev directs or gives guidance to his mother for everyone. I mean, it's such a significant section. This is a prelude almost to this most significant section of Srimad Bhagavatam, how to attain perfection in life. And the principle of perfection in life applies to all. The details may vary. So this you could say the main point here is protection. Protection is, of course, a very in this age which we're in, we may be thinking there's a lack of protection from above, from our own families sometimes. A lack of protection from the authorities, the leaders in society, a lack of spiritual protection, and so on. Although efforts are made, no doubt, but the Vedic society's protection is really to facilitate our spiritual advancement. That's the goal of life. And if one happens to be for some time in the body of a woman or a female body, there are very careful systems in place to protect the lady from being exploited, to facilitate the lady's spiritual advancement, and so on. And the same thing applies to, of course, other members of society too. In society, particularly elderly people, brahmanas, women, children, cows, are afforded very seriously arranged to give proper protection to all these orders of life, and it's supposed to be the leaders of society. The Brahmins may teach the principles, and the Kshatriyas are supposed to enact those principles for the welfare of society. The Brahmins are supposed to keep the goal of life in mind, Sanksidhir Haritoshnam, to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is not just a matter of an order of life or gender or whatever. It's meant for this purpose of Samsidhir Haritoshnam Atakpambhya Dvijashveshta Varnashrama Vibhagashas Anusitasya Dharmasya Samsidhir Haritoshnam. It's meant for the pleasure of Hari, whatever one's position is in society. Today we don't have such a structure, no doubt. It's very complicated. It's because we don't understand when we say we mean society in general. do not understand the highest goal of life. What is the purpose of the human form of life? Mostly we think it's for a form of sense gratification, various kinds. Very rarely do people feel that the human life is for spiritual elevation, liberation. Maybe some, but it's very shallow in understanding. Think it's for elevation to heaven or something like that. But the real essence of human life is meant to be established, presented, maintained by the Brahminical order of life. And they're supposed to give guidance to the executive members of society. The Brahmins are supposed to be aware of the higher purposes of life without, without denying or without, not that they say belittle in any way other activities or responsibilities of the other orders. They're also there. Brahmins are supposed to be broad-minded, and they're supposed to be aware of life's goals and understanding how others can reach those goals in life. So the taking here of sannyas, for instance, was generally speaking only a responsibility of the brahmanas. Other orders of society would not take sannyas. They may take vanapras, which the Prabhupada has mentioned here, vanapras, panchasodvam vanam vrajet, especially, that is for the kshatriyas, especially. And once they're at a certain age, usually around about 50 years of age, is quite young, you could say, by modern. I don't know what the retirement age in Australia is. What is it now? 100? Have they reached 100 already? They're putting it up everywhere. I don't know what is going on here. I think they're already retired before they retire in Australia. That's the principle, isn't it? Very clever. The Australians are very clever. Whatever, 65, 68, 67, 69, I don't know what it is. But it's not based upon spiritual principles. It's simply based again on the same thing, a form of sense gratification. Even marriage in most cases is not really very scientifically directed in this age. It's not spiritually directed even. And mostly it's whatever, sense enjoyment of various kinds mostly. And family life is not like it used to be. Families don't generally stay together. Even married couples don't stay together. I don't know what percentages, but a high percentage don't stay together. And children are not given protection, let's face it. I mean, on many levels. I mean, we know in ISKCON there's many levels of concern in this regards. But in the world in general, I mean, it's a big subject of debate, you could say, in terms of abortion and contraceptives and so on and so forth. Without a deeper understanding, these things become very strongly opinionated and divisive and so on. Without really understanding the laws of nature, without understanding the nature of the self, etc., there's no solution to these things. Especially in Kali Yuga, with the standards of behavior are pretty base, and abortion is such a prominent thing in many countries of the world. It's such a just acceptable factor. They may not call it that; they call it different names in some places, and they don't even follow their own rules in this regards. High percentage. I don't know the latest figures, but last time I looked, it was almost as many as there were actual live births. It may have changed now. I don't know. But again, most people accept this as our right. In other words, the basic problem here is we think this body belongs to me. We think that I am the enjoyer, and protection means to facilitate my ignorance in my life, whatever order of life we're in, this bodily identification. And protection means to facilitate, and that's how one gets in power nowadays. And the more you can promise that you'll satisfy people's mundane expectations and desires, the more popular you'll be. And at least up until you get elected, and then immediately you're becoming unpopular because people realize you're not doing it either. You may be satisfying my own desires, but not the public's. So they don't usually become very popular after coming into power, usually. There's not really any government, I don't think there is anyway, in this world that's really protecting the citizens, because it's protecting their opportunity of a human life to make spiritual progress. And this is why Prabhupada was so concerned in our own movement on different levels. We're coming from most of us, from a rather degraded background, without any experience of a society, which is obviously inferred in this particular pastime here, society which was very elevated and very clear in their direction. Every country in this world has more or less, subject to similar goal, but difference in details vary considerably. Religions fight with each other, cultures fight with each other, genders even sometimes there's challenges there. In one particular proclivity in life, there's sometimes clashes going on there with persons who are, for instance, gay or whatever it is, and others who oppose it, and there's all kinds of different divisive situations, even on COVID, on the war in Ukraine, on rights for different groups of people, philosophies, you name it, color of the body, and so many things. It's chaos, practically chaos. Nobody knows what to do, practically. That's what we should do. Govindam Adipurusham. This is the solution to all the problems. Thank you for that. End of class, all over. I've been saved by the bell. There's no solution. We can see all the efforts and votes and meetings. And what's the result? It just becomes more chaotic, practically. Vedic society was, if the head loses its focus, then it can also become chaotic. It's no longer Vedic, really. The Varnashram may look like it, but without the that objective goal, going back to Godhead, pleasing Krishna, is also a waste of time. Shrama evi kevalam describes in the Bhagavatam, useless waste of time. So mostly, although we may not agree with that, mostly in society it's a useless, even if we do get our rights and we do get our justice, or so-called justice, or whatever it is, where does it lead unless the society is genuinely based upon this higher principle? It may lead to a slightly more organized society, maybe a little bit more peaceful, maybe a little bit more pious, but it doesn't deliver anyone from the ocean of birth and death. We still remain very attached and very self-centered, and society still remains, in one sense, in a chaotic condition, because everyone's got a different opinion, and different groups have different opinions, and different countries have different opinions, and it's just the way it is in the conditioned state of life. We have to listen to Krishna's opinion. It's hard to put it aside, isn't it? This false ego is very strong. Whatever body we're in, it's very strong. And we see ourselves in the center. And sometimes the world we live in, even in our world of ISKCON, sometimes tends to almost support this conditioning, or intensify this conditioning of bodily identification. The Varnashram system, sometimes people criticize as if it's some kind of, designation. You're putting designations on the spirit soul. You're restricting people's potential. You're discriminating. It's the caste system, and so on. Well, of course, we see with a society with no clear head, then all these claims have there's some justification there for sure. But in real principle, the Varnashram system is quite the opposite. It's meant to free us from designation, although it doesn't sound like it for one on the material platform. But one who understands the principle behind it is like Bhagavad Gita. I mean, the ultimate teaching of the Gita is definitely transcendence. But most of the Gita is geared towards, or directed towards, you could say, acting according to one's material condition. Whatever that is, in whatever order of life or whatever gender we may be in. Mostly. Because as an until, as Krishna explains in the 3rd chapter, as an until one is actually on the platform of self-realization, then it's necessary that we act in appropriate ways according to the direction of Vedic scriptures, Varnashram directives, in order to slowly, step by step, purify, as well as accommodate our anarthas, our desires, this and that, in a way which is favorable for the goal of life, and not just to satisfy them for the sake of it. So it's a very systematic, scientific chaturvanyamaya shrishtam. Krishna has given the system, gunakarma vibhagasha. He's given it system for society to accommodate our different karmic conditionings, and in a favorable way with the leadership of society, protecting the living entities. I mean, protection's a big subject. I mean, if we take, say, for instance, the Vaishyas, how are they protected? They're protected by the Kshatriyas, who give them facility to perform their duties as Vaishyas. And they give them that facility. They don't manage it. The Vaishyas manage it. As long as they're doing their duty, the Kshatriyas are there to protect them so they can continue. The Vaishyas protect the cows, and obviously other orders, other members of society, family members and so on. And the Kshatriyas protect the Vaishyas and the Brahmins also. And the Vaishyas give protection to the cows and also to those in the mentality as of a Shudra. They make sure they get what they need. But everything is directed in this one-pointed direction, self-realization, all going back to God and pleasing Krishna. It's so nice. We're not here to justify our conditioning. We're here to get free of our conditioning, to rise, transcend it. It's not an easy thing. And as I say, just for instance, like the protection of cows, one may wonder what on earth has that got to do with self-realization. We may be able to understand the other members of society a little bit easier, but cows? Why cows? Why not dogs? Sometimes people say that to us on the street. What is it, you Hindus, worship the cows? Why don't you worship the dogs, the fish, the birds? Why? Why these directives are there? And we may ask these questions sometimes. Why? Why? I mean, you can't play with cows. I mean, maybe on the spiritual platform we hear about that. But you can't play very much with cows, right? You can't really keep a cow in your front room, if you're feeling lonely. It would be difficult. Dogs, they seem to be very, attracted towards humans, and they seem very friendly and like that. But cows? Okay, they give milk, so what? I'm a vegan. I'm not, but I know somebody may say. Why cows? Why is it emphasized, cow protection? Because we're in Sydney, maybe you never thought about it, I don't know. But why cow protection? Somebody can say something. Give me a break. Come on. Pardon? Yajna? Okay, that's one angle. From a Vedic point of view, it may not be something which is relevant to modern day society. For yajna, because for most of the yajna, even deity worship, yajnas, etc., the cow's products at least are very significant in the performance of various sacrifices, etc. Other areas too, of course, but particularly there. Anything else? Yes? Well, that's a pretty interesting response. Lord Krishna's favorite pet, if you want to call it pet. Yeah, Lord Krishna, Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmanya Hitaya Chaitya Gatitaya Krishna Govindaya Namo Namaha. The cow is very dear to Krishna. And if we understand this principle, I mean, in one sense, this is you could say, the bottom line answer, really. Because what pleases Krishna, if you love someone, is you may not understand why they like gulabs, or why they like pizzas, or why they like whatever they like, but it's why. I mean, if you don't like something, you may wonder, why do they like it? It's horrible. I hate that music. I hate that place. I hate that food. Why do they like it? I can't understand it. What's wrong with them? But if you love somebody, you have to accept the fact that we're different. We all have different likes and dislikes. Every living entity, practically. You can't really say why. It's just because you're an individual. In a country like Australia, I guess, I don't know, but there will be rules in place, whether you like it or lump it. The government has made certain rules. You can't do this. I don't like in different countries, it'll be different. I don't know if you can, pee and poo in public in Australia. Probably not. It's not allowed, is it? In some countries, they don't seem to care. Even in France, I've seen people pooing on the main railway stations, right, in public. Nobody says anything. They walk by as if, it's a dog. It's a dog pooing, even less than a dog. You're meant to clean up after a dog poos. But of course, there isn't a rule there, but people don't. They turn a blind eye practically. In some countries, they don't care. It's part of the different aspects. You can look at it in different ways, but it's not uncommon. But they have rules, and you may like it or agree with it or not agree with it, but you're supposed to follow it. There may be some logic, justified logic there, but for others it's not justified logic. So, but we're not God. That's why we're in this material world. We're not God. We're not the supreme enjoyer, the supreme authority. We're not the supreme proprietor. So ultimately, spiritual life, the whole spiritual world, vibrates around this very simple principle. What is that principle? Excluding, let's say, the level of Brahman in of itself. But as far as the spiritual worlds go, what is the principle? What is your eligibility to enter into the spiritual realm? Put it from our perspective, huh? Pardon? That doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to enter the spiritual worlds. It may, in its fullest extent, enable one to enter the Brahman. Excuse me? Having? Faith in Krishna. It probably goes a little bit higher than that. That's certainly part of it. Huh? Love for Godhead. And what does that mean? Does it mean I love the deities. I love the deities. I love the deities when when I can do what I like for them. What I like for them? I love Krishna. I love him. I can do whatever I like for him. Is that maybe, some stage, but is that really love? Is that the eligibility to go back to Godhead? Maybe someone said I overspoke there. I don't know, one of the ladies said something. Pardon? Excuse me? These are, again, these are not exactly, this no doubt is true, but it's not the essential factors. very, very good also. You can think of Krishna in different ways. I mean, Kamsa probably didn't forget Krishna either, but it wasn't very favorable. In a favorable mood, okay, go further. What does that mean? We may think it's a favorable mood, but to understand what is a favorable mood is another thing. What is pleasing to Krishna? Okay, we're getting very, very much there to the essential feature of the spiritual realm. It's not like, you're kind of like trying to impress Krishna or anything, and they sometimes play like that, but the inner heart isn't like that. I'm the best at jumping or running or whatever it may be. Look at me, here I am, I dance the best and so on. Well, that may be there for fun, or for the principle of ultimately bringing pleasure to Krishna. The whole spiritual world vibrates or works around this simple principle, which is that which brings pleasure, which enhances the relationship, enhances the pastimes of the Lord, enhances his pleasure. This is the eligibility. So the whole system in this world, and if we have to find out what pleases Krishna, it isn't necessarily, some philosophers, even some so-called spiritual groups have this principle that, what pleases you pleases Krishna. It's a good line. It's kind of quite an attractive philosophy, you could say, isn't it? You're part and parcel of Krishna, so whatever you do pleases Krishna. Doesn't matter what it is. Of course, no sane person will buy such a philosophy, but some people do, to some extent at least. But that's not what it is. We have to find out what pleases. We wouldn't be in this world if we knew what pleased Krishna, or we were willing to accept it. Maybe we knew, but we didn't want to accept. So it's a question of understanding, and understanding the result of pleasing Krishna. So say, for instance, as was mentioned just now, he loves the cows. So if you want to please somebody, say, for instance, somebody you want to impress loves this dog. Just say. And a lot of people in Australia love their dogs. Is that right? They love their dogs. Sometimes they almost love their dog more than their own children sometimes. Yeah. At least the dog sometimes is a little bit more obedient, a little bit more, faithful, whatever you want to call it sometimes. I don't want to say something, some of the things I've heard parents say to their children in Australia is not very, let's say, encouraging, but or anywhere come to that. But the dog, okay, sometimes you have to, be a little strict with the dog, but dog usually surrenders, usually submits, huh? Takes complete shelter of the master, gives protection to the dog. And the person will almost give up its life for the dog sometimes. I mean, I know when they had that, what did they call it? Was it a cyclone? They call it cyclone. I think it's a cyclone they call it in America. Maybe not. Hurricanes, they call it. A big hurricane in New Orleans, some time passed and many people died. But people were going back, risking their lives to search for their pet dogs. They couldn't bear it, Their dog had got caught in this, searching everywhere. People pay a lot of money if they lose their pets. Huh? Now, if you want to make a friend with such a person, you go up to them. Hey, I really like you, sir. I really like you. At the same time, they've got a pet dog there, and you kick the dog over the fence. I don't like dogs. Get out of here. Boom. You're not going to impress that man. He'll probably punch you in the face. Isn't it? In Australia? Probably anywhere. He'd be really angry. You get taken to court. Might end up in prison. It's such a... Same with anything. Their children, their wife, their car, their house, anything which is close to them. If you commit an offense towards that, the man takes it very seriously. So it's not difficult. Well, I don't think it's very difficult to understand it. Someone's very dear to Krishna, and you kill that person. See, you're going to please Krishna? Or you don't engage that person, you don't care, you just keep them in a pen somewhere, some field, whatever it is. It's better than killing them. But better is to, engage them in relationship which pleases Krishna. Everything, spiritual life means pleasing Krishna. It doesn't mean our own concoction or, what makes me feel great. I feel really good. Oh, I've got what I want. Yeah. May not be what pleases Krishna. You have to find out from those who know and from the scriptures. Even scriptures can be misinterpreted because whole Bhagavatam is based on this principle of Vyasadeva not sufficiently explaining the goal of the Vedas. He explained it, but not sufficiently, not clearly, not emphatically. And there's naturally conditioned souls who are here because we have some aversion towards surrendering to Krishna anyway, are likely to go for another level of Vedic conclusion, impersonal or heavenly planets or something like that. So this is the real, full satisfaction. The living entity will never be fully satisfied as and until we have actually reestablished our pure relationship with Krishna. So this is the purpose here in the teachings of Lord Kapila Dev. Very, very wonderful teachings, both a little bit to Cardamom, but primarily to Mother Devahuti, on this science of how. And it includes all the other things that have been mentioned, non-enviousness, no material desires, and so on, are also very much included, because in the stage to come to that level, Varnashram is the scientific managerial system to facilitate it. You don't jump in the deep end straight away, but the object behind it has to be understood clearly. Not that it has some other objective. And if that's not understood, it becomes another form of, disturbance. So very important in our own society also. Principles have to be in place, based upon Shastra. It's a difficult one in Kali Yuga, a blend, you could say sometimes, between that which is Shastric and that which is more or less obligated according to present situations or local situations or whatever it may be. But must be with the goal in mind. The ultimate goal has to be kept in mind, otherwise we lose it. We're not here just to establish mundane morality, but everything has to be based on this principle. What will help to awaken our pure love of God, or to give people this opportunity? This is real protection. So protecting cows means Krishna's pleased. At different levels, protection of cows may be understood. Protection of children, protection of women, protection of old men and Brahmins. It's interesting, the ninth canto, I can't remember, it's somewhere, maybe 7th canto, where this description of the Varnashram system is given there. I think Narada Muni is describing the Varnashram system and how describing these personalities have to be protected and so on. And Prabhupada says of all the 5, protection of Brahmins and cows is the most essential. And of those 2, the protection of the cows is most essential. We sometimes put it on the back burner. That's not my Bob, but it's pleasing Krishna. So it's like deity worship from the material point of view. Why are you doing it? Maybe people give donations, and I don't know. But in one sense, it's like, what are you doing from a materialistic perspective? What are you doing? Speak of sannyas. What is this crazy system? Taking sannyas. Why is he taking sannyas? Here, look at this. Here we have Kardama Muni. Okay, he's very elevated. Even Prabhupada said he could have kept his wife with him. They could have stayed together. There would be no disturbance on the path of self-realization. But he's walking out, practically speaking. And he has a young son. He's not a baby, he's a young son. And his young son is a form of the personality of Godhead. And he's walking out. Can you believe it? It's like he's walking away from his objective goal. Sounds crazy. But he's establishing the purpose of the Lord. He's playing his part to fulfill Lord Kapila-Dev's purpose for the society in general, as well as facilitating Lord Kapila-Dev giving protection to Mother Devahuti. But for people in general, at least for those who are in the Brahminical order of life, or for the Kshatriyas, the importance of showing something higher than just making a nice material arrangement, but higher purposes of life. So a devotee or aspiring devotee tries to see. It's difficult in this age because protection's not there from above or around us. So the devotee always tries to see Krishna's hand working in everything, no matter what happens. We're all wrought with many faults and make mistakes. And Prabhupada himself said nobody can follow perfectly in this age, neither Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, neither Sannyasi, Vanaprast, Grihastha or Brahmachari. No one can follow properly. We try to always see Krishna's hand working. Whatever happens, try to take shelter of that. With, at the same time, of course, systems have to be in place in order to at least give some protection as much as we can. But it's not an easy one. Hare Krishna. We could talk a lot about Vanaprastha, but not this time. Prabhupada wasn't mentioning it much here. So any questions, comments, challenges? Here we have from Harinam Nanda Prabhu. Yes.
How to see Krishna's hand working?
How to see his hand working. Take shelter of his feet. Then you'll see how his hands are working. Otherwise you won't be able to see it. In fact, I would say that's probably the answer. You have to take shelter of the feet. Then it's easy to see how his hands are working. How do we see his... Isn't it an amazing thing? I mean, it's very... Different people will see Krishna's mercy in different ways. And, back and forth. Why is this happening to me? We get angry and this and that. Well, how do we see his mercy? Well, if we can pray for it in our heart. We can really pray for Krishna, please guide me in this regard. What am I to do? How am I to see the situation, etc.? That you can do. That's taking shelter of Krishna's lotus feet also. Chant sincerely. We inquire from those who are hopefully a little bit more mature, a little bit more advanced. There are scriptural injunctions. We just have to learn which ones are relevant to various situations, because we can quote out of context or whatever. That's another aspect. So what else can we do to see Krishna's hand at work in everything that happens? Any other suggestions? We have 4 there. Anything else? I'm sure you've got some experience of this. Sometimes it's really difficult. We've all been through situations in life where we've seen how difficult it is, at least for others, to justify or see when things go wrong, when some horrible thing seems to occur, when there's a war, we lose our dear ones, and we get, whatever. Everything goes wrong, and we're trying to surrender, and externally everything goes wrong. So how to see Krishna's hand working? Anything else? I mean, we've said 4, but if there's any use or not. Anything else? There are hands at the back there. I can't see who they are. I've got my glasses off. It helps me. Okay. Pardon?
As Kapila Deva repeated Sankhya philosophy twice
I don't know if that's related to my question. Bring it up in a minute. My question was, how else can we see the Lord's hand working in everything? If it is related, please explain. I haven't caught how it is. But I want to stick to this point, how to see the hand of the Lord in working in all situations. Anything else? Did you have a point on that? I think it's Sachi, I'm not sure. Is it Sachi Nandan? Yes, okay.
So the way we see that, what are we going through?
Speak slowly and clearly.
The way I see that, the way we're going through, if you follow instructions, the people mark and what Krishna has said in the Gita, you get a result.
It becomes clearer, does it? I mean, getting a result, I don't know. That depends. But seeing things clearly. Not seeing oneself in the center, but trying to see things from Krishna's, I would say, to take that a little further. To seeing it from Krishna's perspective. The Bhagavad Gita is kind of, you could say, like the will of the Lord. When somebody leaves, they leave a will. So the will is there, trying to see things in the light, Shastra Chakshus, in the light of Scripture. And to illuminate that, we generally need somebody who is realized or more realized to give us a little light on that Shastra, on that direction, that's for sure. So that's two nice way of saying, I guess. Things then become clearer and less self-centered or egocentric. Anything else? Yes. Yeah, I mean, but that is supposed to be the external manifestation of super soul. So by following that, no matter what it is, you can see Krishna's hand working in that way for sure. If one is able to do that, that's very good. And that's Krishna's hand will be working in that way. But how to see it, we can accept it or not accept it, but how to see it. Yes? We can pray to Krishna for what? Sincerely. Yeah, but sincerely is quite a significant word. What does sincerely mean? Excuse me? Intense desire to serve, very nice. Well, the word sincerely comes from, I think from Latin. I think it's Latin. It refers to originally, I heard, you correct me if I'm wrong, but I heard it relates to marble. Marble. Is this a marble floor? So, sincere was referred to marble that has no blemish whatsoever. No other, sometimes they cheat, they put